We'll say live in just a moment. You're live.
Okay, I think we are live now. Welcome to this intermittent fasting live Q&A. My name is Kayla Cox. I am the founder of this channel, 6 Miles to Supper. I've lost 80 pounds and kept it off with intermittent fasting, mostly Omad during that time. I eat whatever I want. I don't count calories. I'm not keto. I'm not even low carb. I love my carbs. I'm the author of the Laid Back Guide to Intermittent Fasting, which gives you a clue as to kind of my whole philosophy about intermittent fasting. I'm very laid back. I also have the Slow and Steady Success Academy, which is an online academy that teaches you how to lose weight sustainably and how to keep it off. And we also have a private members only Facebook group where I do group coaching if you need more step by step guidance. But my husband is in here as 6 Miles to Supper in the chat, and he will be moderating comments. So thank you, Jay, for doing that, and thank you for all of you joining. If you have questions you'd like me to answer, just put it in the chat, and we'll try to get it answered tonight. So. First of all, let's go to the questions from the YouTube community tab. You can check out, sometimes I'll do like polls and stuff over there, which I think is a lot of fun because we can kind of see as a group what people are doing and having results with, and kind of instead of just me, because sometimes people ask me about something that I don't really have much experience with, but we can kind of like share our results over there, like with artificial sweeteners, for example. So let's start off with Fit Rianoi, I think was the name. I really like your videos. Your journey motivates me to do OMAD. Well, great. My question is, do you experience constipation? And if you do, how do you deal with that? Well, that's a good question. Some people seem to have more problems with this than I have. I really haven't experienced constipation. Now, I did a whole video about bowel movements as it relates to intermittent fasting because I did notice that I don't go as often as I used to before I started doing intermittent fasting. Because, like when I was eating 5-6 meals a day, I was going a lot more often. And, but now, I mean, I go usually about once a day, but sometimes it's a few days in between. But it's not constipation, if that makes sense. If I ever do, it's rare, but if I do, I always try to say, am I drinking enough water? And I'll try to up, my water intake or just fluids in general. And also eating more vegetables like fiber and stuff like that. So there you go. Kayla Shepherd, nice name, Kayla. You said before that you walk not to lose weight, but for the mental clarity, which is awesome. But surely walking 6 miles is a calorie deficit on what you eat. For the average person, I believe it ranges from 300 to 500 calories. Do you feel you would have lost all this weight still if you didn't walk 6 miles every day? Okay, so that's a great question, and she brings up a great point. I think, yes, you can lose weight without the walking the 6 miles. Like I've said before, it kept me in a good mood. It kept me in a good mental place. And it's important to be in a really good mental place when you are trying to lose weight, because it's frustrating sometimes and you kind of have to just keep yourself motivated, and moving, just staying moving, like literally moving, helped me to keep moving towards my goals. And so it was really important for those reasons. But I would argue that it probably increases my appetite. 300 calories isn't all that much. Like when you just look at the calorie count of something like, Oreos or any kind of like, well, pretty much any food it can surprise you how quickly you can consume that much food. But and another reason why I think that is I've interviewed people, success stories, who didn't exercise at all when they were losing their weight. And so I think it's one of those things. It's hard to know. I mean, I can't go back in time and do it all over again. Wouldn't want to, but I think your appetite does increase. I've certainly noticed that with, just in general. Like if I kind of change things up, my appetite goes up. So uh, that's just my opinion. Ivy Rad says, "What do you think of apple cider vinegar? I think it tastes disgusting." And is it something that you think is good? How much and how often can we take it? Well, I don't do the whole apple cider vinegar thing. I know some people do and they love it and they have a lot of like health benefits from it. I hate the way it tastes. I cannot make I just don't. I don't want to make myself take it. And like I noticed for me, it seemed like I would get like nauseous after I would have it. Pretty much the only way I can tolerate it is to like mix. I think it's like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with some honey, but I didn't want to like have honey in my fasting window, so I just don't do it. But some people do it. I think if you want to check out Joe Holman on Omad Revolution, he does recommend apple cider vinegar. He takes it, I think, maybe like once a week, I think. Okay, Jimmy Cooksworth said, compare and contrast the benefits, if you can, of higher intensity walks versus lower intensity walks, like a 12-minute mile versus 16-minute mile. Okay, so here's what I would say. Ultimately, I would go for enjoyment. Enjoying your plan, enjoying what you're doing day in and day out, I think is much more important than any kind of time savings that you may find from doing one over the other or calorie burn from one over the other. Because ultimately, you got to convince yourself to get out there and do the thing. So, what worked for me was to just say, go as slow as you want to go. And I would walk slow. I mean, I like to walk slow, and it was like the only thing that would excuse proof me. Like if I knew like I got to get out there and do a 12-minute, mile every, for each mile that I walk, it's got to be 12 minutes every time. Like that would drive me insane, and I wouldn't enjoy it, and I would just stop. But I mean, I do like the idea of improvement and that kind of thing. So I think there's the benefit of just improving in general on something is that whole idea of you're making progress towards something, and that can be a really good thing. But I think it's important to also balance it with, are you actually enjoying the thing? Are you finding that you're not enjoying your thing anymore because you're just so focused on getting the higher intensity thing? Higher intensity, just in general with exercise, can make you hungrier. For the past 3 days, I've actually been running my 6 miles. Like I've been doing a 10K. I did 7.71 miles on Monday, and then like 6.25 today and yesterday. I did that just, I don't know, just to kind of experiment with it, see what it was like. I haven't really run since losing 80 pounds, so it feels different for sure. And I've certainly noticed with that, my my hunger level is more at my mealtime, and I also have noticed just a little bit of nausea. Like I'm talking, it probably doesn't even last a whole minute, but it's just like this thing that can happen at around 2 o'clock, where it's just like, oh, don't feel too good, and then I'm fine. So it hasn't been anything ridiculous, but I'm just saying you may experience some of that when you try to go higher intensity. So there you go. Okay, so Mignon Filet, I think is how you pronounce that screen name. How do you walk 6 miles in the house if it's not on treadmill? Well, the way I did it was just to walk around my house, like literally walk from the kitchen to the bedroom to the living room, and around we go. And I would do that. Sometimes I would just walk inside my master bedroom, so from the head of one side of the bed down to the end, over and up to the head of the other side of the bed, and I would just do that, make that U shape, just over and over, just pacing basically. So that's how I did it in a house. Now I am in an RV. Sometimes I'll just pace back and forth in here if the weather's bad or whatever, or I'll march in place if need be. But there's plenty of ways to do it if you're just dead set and determined that you want to get your miles in inside your house. As a Ekanik, I think is how you pronounce that. I'm new to your channel and intermittent fasting. My problem is that I like fasting, but I'm not into keto. I'd tried before and not interested anymore, but it seems that you have to do both those to lose weight. Please, I want to know what to eat in a normal diet for breakfast and lunch. There are many videos on fasting, but when it comes to what to eat after fasting, I get confused. Thank you. Okay, so a lot of people do like keto and intermittent fasting, but I do not. I never did keto the entire time I was doing intermittent fasting. I didn't lose any of my weight with keto. It's one of those things. I think that's the best part of intermittent fasting is you don't have to be real particular with what you eat, or at least in my case, that's what I found. I could just sit down and eat the food and not worry about it. I don't have a meal plan. I don't put out meal plans because I think the that's the big benefit is like you don't have to think about this. You don't have to overthink it. You can just eat what you like. And over time, of course, yes, you may find like, oh, I want to eat more vegetables or something like that. But in general, it can be really, really easy. And I understand that it makes it complicated for people because they tend to think, oh, well, you have to eat certain things. In my experience, that's not true. Now, like I was talking about on the community tab, we did a survey last week. I think it was last week, but like over 700 people responded, and over half of the people, just over half, were eating whatever they wanted. So it is possible to eat whatever you want and lose weight. Some people find they like keto. And I think if you love keto, do keto. If you feel great on keto, do keto. It's just not what works for everybody. So I wanted to do what I could stick with foreseeably for the rest of my life, and I knew keto was not it, so that's why I didn't do it. Let's see. Let's see. Sorry about that. Susie Ann, are there days when you are super hungry and thought maybe I didn't eat enough the night before, and then go and break your fast early? Okay, so occasionally that would happen. Uh, it really happened more often when I went to Omad. I would have days where I was like, wow, I did not eat enough the night before. There were just certain meals where I would feel really full when I would finish eating, and then by the next morning I was like, wow, I don't feel any of that food. Like I don't feel full at all. So it was a learning process. Now, how would I handle that? I would say it was rare. It was very, very, very rare for me to break the fast early. Generally, the only time I ever broke my fast early, like in an unplanned way, was around the time of my period. Like 3 days before my period, there were some months there where it was like, okay, I need some chocolate. So, but sometimes I would. Just have my meal a little bit earlier. Like, so in other words, if we would normally eat at say 6:30, maybe I would make dinner at 4:30 or 5 if it worked with our day. I was lucky because we had like work from home jobs, and my husband was a realtor, so his schedule was a lot more flexible. I know not everybody has that flexibility, but ultimately, it's a learning process. Like, don't be upset if you're sitting there and you're like miserable, and you're like, I didn't eat enough. Well, then it's fine to just say, I've got to break my fast early today, and I need to eat more at my meal. Or you may find that you need a longer window so that you can eat enough. The main thing is, are your results there? Focus on results, and tweak it so that you can eat plenty and have the fasting window feel easy. Joy Harrington. Oh gosh, I always mess up your name. I'm very sorry. Hey, I'd like to know if you ever change up uh, from 16/8 intermittent fasting to other length intermittent fasting, like a 24 or 12/12, or if you ever do 24 or longer hour fast. And if so, how do you decide? I'm trying a 16/8, but I can't bring myself to eat whatever I want responsibly. I'm doing lazy keto kinda and walking 5 miles a day, but I'm really struggling with my food, even though I'm reading and listening to a ton of stuff. Um, okay, so okay, so first of all, I normally do OMAD. Like my general mode of being, I would say, is one meal a day. Occasionally, I will do like a 16/8 or an 18/6. Um, I prefer OMAD, but I'm maintaining so I can be a bit more loosey goosey or with this, because it's not like I'm trying to lose. I'm just trying to maintain. Um, uh, Now, so normally that's about a 24-hour fast. What I'm doing every day. And I have done a 5-day fast. So the 5-day fast was not for weight loss, though. It was only for what I had read about as far as cancer prevention, possible cancer prevention. Um, so the thing that you're talking about, though, how do you decide? I like to keep it as consistent as possible because it keeps it easy in your mind. Like if you just say, I'm committed to doing this, I think that's better in general. Like if you're kind of feeling like, oh, I just don't really have a plan, I would say just pick one window and just stick with that consistently for like 6 or 8 weeks and see how your results are, see how you're feeling. And then if you want to go for a longer fast, do that. But just, keep it really consistent. Try to like make your life easier. Now, the whole thing about eating whatever you want responsibly, I'll say this. I had a hard time with that in the beginning too, as far as like the notion that I could eat whatever I wanted, guilt free, like whatever I want, I can just have it. I don't have to feel guilty about, eating a cupcake or having chocolate cake or, whatever, or, eating butter on my potatoes or whatever the thing was, like no guilt. Um, it's hard to do it in the beginning because it's like you think you're going to gain weight, or at least that's what I thought. I really thought when I really sat down and said, okay, I'm going to allow myself to eat however much I want. There's no counting calories. There's none of that. It felt like I am going to blow up like a balloon. But what I found was I had much better self-control. I had stopping power, and I didn't feel guilty because I was being really consistent with my plan. I had done what I said I was going to do. And it helped to look at it as an experiment. That kind of gave me permission. I think a lot of people struggle with like giving themselves permission to even eat the things. But the thing that kept helping me was to just look around at people who were thin. Like my husband, for example, is an example of a thin person, and he eats whatever he wants to eat. He doesn't think twice about this stuff. And I wanted to be like him. I wanted to like be able to just eat the food and not feel guilty and not obsess over it. So it can be done. It just takes time, I think. Gladys Wahomi said, I'm from Kenya. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. I followed you on Omad for 3 weeks, and now I'm happy with the results. Would like to know if fresh ginger in the morning, fresh ginger water in the morning will break my fast because my window is from 2 to 3 p.m. Okay, so my whole take is you're fine. Like, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I have cream in my coffee, and I've never noticed that it slowed down my results or anything. I've been able to lose the weight and keep it off doing that, having the cream in my coffee. The general consensus that I've been able to find is if the thing that you are consuming is less than, say, 50 calories, it doesn't break the fast. Now, it kind of depends really more on what are your goals with fasting. If your goals are simply for weight loss, I would not hesitate at all to put the ginger in my water. If you're like more focused on like autophagy and stuff like that, you may want to look further into that. That gets into kind of a gray area because it really hasn't been studied really, really well. And I would wager that it varies from person to person how much that affects things like that. Okay. Uh-oh. I lost that question. Oh, I did? Okay. All right. Now, this one came in from email. And also, if you'd like to subscribe to my newsletter, the Monday Motivation newsletter, in there, I kind of send out something that I found motivating or that I think will be helpful to you on your weight loss journey. And I also put what the upcoming content is for the coming week. So you can sign up. I'm sure Jay will put a link to it in the chat. So this person asked, I'm about my goal weight, and now I'm not sure what to do for maintenance. Have you kept up OMAD during maintenance, or did you add a meal in? Did you add extra food into your one meal? I thought I could change back to a 16-8, but I'm pretty comfortable with what I've been doing. What do you do? Well, I love maintenance mode because it can be so freeing. To me, just in general, I try to think like really big picture. As far as I try not to worry too much about weight fluctuations within a certain range. Like I try to keep my weight within like a 5-pound range of my 7-day average. That's my goal. Now, do I hit that goal all the time? No, but that's just like where I'm trying to be. Now, some people want more control than that. Like they want to be in a tighter frame. I like a looser frame because I want this to be something I can maintain for the rest of my life. And weight does fluctuate. Weight normally fluctuates by like within a 10-pound range. So that's why I kind of chose 5 pounds, because I think my 7-day average should be able to stay pretty consistently within a 5-pound range. So my goal is just to try to keep it in that range. So and I'm also, this time especially, I was curious to see, like, do I still like doing OMAD, like on a consistent basis? Because I never know. Like I always try to really analyze, like, am I doing this because it's comfortable, or am I doing it because I really enjoy it? Or am I doing it because I have a YouTube channel that does this? And I never want that to be the reason. I want to do the thing that I'm doing solely because that's what I enjoy, because I think that is the truly sustainable thing over the long term. Even if that meant that I stopped intermittent fasting, I don't think I will, but even if it meant that, that's what I would do, because I never want to resent what I'm doing, if that makes sense. But in general, yeah, OMAD for me. I do OMAD and then I take Sunday completely off. But like I've said in the past, sometimes I'll kind of go through this phase where it's like, hey, I really want lunch, or sometimes I want breakfast. But I found that my day is just more productive if I just don't eat until supper time. And my energy levels tend to be better too. It just seems to work really well for me and my, I guess, temperament probably. But I would suggest whatever's working for you, like whatever feels comfortable, just play with a little bit and see where you want, like, see where you want to be with your weight. Like, what kind of range are you looking for? Keep tracking and, keep holding yourself accountable. But then, if you want to go back and play with the 16-8 and just see how it goes, and just the main thing is experiment and see what works for you. It doesn't have to be really rigid, is the point. Like, it's kind of like this give and take between, like, being rigid enough to maintain it, but not so rigid that you just feel like restricted all the time. That's I'm always looking for, like, maximum freedom. That's truly my goal is maximum freedom while still maintaining where I want to be. So there you go. So from Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram if you'd like, at Kayla M Cox. M as in Marie. And on my Instagram, I do some stuff about intermittent fasting, but a lot of, like, stuff about full-time RVing and just homeschooling and just my life in general. It's more of a personal account than a brand account. There you go. Okay, so Choose to Stay asked, how long does it take before you're not gaining back what you lost all week on your one open day? She calls her open day her cheat day. I've been doing intermittent fasting for almost 2 months. I had lost up to 6 pounds, which is great, by the way. But on Easter, I gave myself 2 open days because I had not been doing any open days, and I gained back all 6. I started my window at an 8-8. I think she means, she's eating from 8 until 8. And I've shaved it off little by little once a week, and now I'm sustaining eating between 7 and 5 pretty well. Just not seeing consistent weight loss. The scale goes up and down every day, and the average was a loss until Easter weekend. Okay, so lots going on in that question. The first thing I would say is weight does fluctuate up and down, up and down, up and down. That is the nature of the beast, and from what I can tell, it's worse for women than it is for men. Men's weight tends to not be as dramatic, I would say. Although my husband's been weighing daily just to do it, I get just for kicks.
Yeah.
But
So you have a kind of a
yeah, and it's actually been really nice because our weight, it's funny, like our weight really does kind of like go up and down at about the same on the same days and everything, because I guess it's what we're eating. But anyway, so weight fluctuates. Even a man who is thin, his weight fluctuates. So so that's the first thing to note. That's why I love the 7-day average. Keeping track of that 7-day average helps to take away those fluctuations. Now, you said you had lost up to 6 pounds, but then you kind of said it later on at the scale. It had that you had gained back all 6 pounds. And that would be an odd thing to happen with your 7 day average. Like if your 7 day average was showing, like when you started out, your 7 day average started at a certain amount after you've been weighing for 7 days, and then at the end, like at Easter, it would be odd for your weight to have fluctuated up, your 7 day average to fluctuate up by 6 pounds. I mean, that would be like a significant uh, upward swing. So I wonder if it was just a single day weight that kind of went up, or maybe your weight for a couple of days. But I would keep track of the 7 day average, keep going with what you're doing. You didn't mention on your question, but I wonder if you were low carb, and then when you went on your 2 off days, if you added carbs back in, because that will put on water weight. If you went back to being low carb after that, you would probably notice another whoosh of water weight going off of you. But mainly, just keep at it and don't quit. What can happen is when you have an upward fluctuation, it can be frustrating, and then you start being inconsistent and things like that. So I would just say, just stay the course, focus on being really consistent with your fasting. And because I haven't had that happen where it's like, oh, you're undoing all your progress just by having the 1 day off. I took a day off every week for that, all of 2016, and that's when I lost the bulk of my weight. And I've kept that cheat day since then. So I've been doing this now for three years, over 3 years, 4 months, 3 years and 4 months at this point. And I've taken cheat day every Sunday, and I've lost a total of 80. But yeah, so there you go. So there you go. Okay. Also on Instagram, an anonymous person asked, "Do you count calories at all? And when you do OMAD, are you eating an entire 1,200 calories in your meal?" I don't count calories at all. Period. I hate counting calories. I actually read a really interesting article about metabolism uh, and and why it is just so darn hard to count calories and have that work for you. Because for one, you have to be so precise with your measurements to really know how much you're actually eating. Plus, uh, food labels and stuff can sometimes vary like by 15% on the calorie count. Plus, people's individual metabolism can be so different that depending on how fast your metabolism is, you may need more or less calories. Uh, so, and then like things like peanut butter and peanuts, for example, like you get fewer calories from the peanuts than you do from peanut butter. So it's just all very interesting. Um, uh, so I don't count calories because I got obsessive about it. I tried in 2015. I can't remember now how long I tried it, but I just got, like I started out by logging my food, then I went to uh, just eyeballing how much I was, eating, as far as like what the portion sizes were there for about how many calories. And then I got to where I was like weighing and measuring my food, and I really resented it, and I wasn't having any results. I like plateaued. I think from all the stress. So I don't. How much am I eating at my one meal? I have no idea. I'm eating enough to sustain me, and at one point I was losing weight. Now, based on what I eat, I'm maintaining. So there you go. Mrs. Ball 87. I would say if you do like to count calories, just experiment and see what works for you. And if you find you can't eat enough and you're feeling bad, then certainly don't just try OMAD just for the sake of OMAD. Like, figure out what window works for you. Mrs. Ball 87 said, "I read your book and it was great." Well, thanks. In doing additional research on intermittent fasting, I've noticed a lot of information also comes up on keto. In order to be successful in intermittent fasting, do you have to do the keto diet? No, in my opinion, you do not. Some people enjoy it. I don't, but I think it's up to you. If you feel like that's something that could be really sustainable for you, and it really, it looks like a plan that would work, I say go for it. But a lot of people have found keto doesn't really work for them, as far as like they don't like it, and I think it's okay to not like it, and just to say it won't work for me. Fine if it works for you, but not for me. Reborn KB said, I drink multicollagen with my coffee. Does this break the fast? I love your book. I can't tell you how much the Q&As help. Well, I'm glad these Q&As help. I really enjoy doing them. So multi-collagen, again, I would say anything that you're wanting to add to your coffee or anything like that. I think the main thing, as opposed to thinking, will this break the fast? Experiment with it first of all. Run your own test, run your own experiment. Say, I'm going to try this for 6 weeks consistently and then see what my results are. I doubt it would break the fast. I don't know what multi-collagen is exactly. I kind of have an idea, but I doubt that it has that many calories. So I just wouldn't worry about it. I would focus on results. If you're really concerned about, you know, the breaking the fast, maybe because you're trying for autophagy and you really want to be super strict in your window, you know, you could just have that in your eating window if you wanted. If you really wanted to get it in. Jay Dallas, 1982, said or asked, "How has God used you since committing to intermittent fasting?" So I am a Christian, and I talked about this a bit on a podcast episode called "Moving Past Perceived Failure," I think. But intermittent fasting, first of all, intermittent fasting taught me a lot spiritually, I think, about how much I had started to like make food way too important in my life because I do love food and I love cooking and I enjoy food, but it had really become something that was taking up way too much of my time and too much of my thoughts, and I was letting it control um, my mood, and I was just, you know, I was eating food until I was miserable, so that wasn't good either. My body had gotten to the point where it was obese, and that wasn't good either. Um, by losing weight, I was able to feel brave enough to do the 100,000 steps for Jezza, and so I don't think without intermittent fasting, I don't think I would have done that probably. Uh, because fasting gave me more just self discipline, and it showed me a lot of stuff about myself. And so, you know, there's some people in Uganda that have a well now. So I think for those reasons, it has been a good thing, a God thing, and that's you know, and I've been able to have this channel, and I feel very blessed to have the audience I have, and I try my best to provide helpful information. And it seems like there have been a good number of people that have found this useful, and that they've been able to get healthier and lose the weight. And a lot of people have had like their numbers, like, you know, blood sugar numbers and stuff like that have improved, or they've gotten off their medications and stuff. So yeah, so that's what I'd say. But I'm the vessel, I would say. Like, it's not me. Is my point. Okay. Holly Bear 73. Can you exercise while fasting? So, in my opinion, yes. And I'll tell you all my experiences with it, and you can kind of take it from there. Every day when I do my walking, pretty much, I'm doing that fasted. Now, it's 6 miles, but it's a slow 6 miles usually. When I did my 5-day fast, though, I still walked my 6 miles. So I was very fasted at that point, and I did fine. I didn't have any cramping. I didn't like pass out or anything like that. I felt actually really good during that 5-day fast. Now, most recently, I've been doing my 10Ks, and so that's been like 3 days in a row of doing that, of jogging at a, for me, a good pace. About a, let's see, it takes me about an hour and 10 minutes, I think. An hour and 10 minutes ish. An hour, yeah, about that. To run that. So and so I've been doing that fasted. I mean, you know, like that would be, I'm doing it in the morning and my meal is at supper. So it's not too long of a fast, but like I mentioned, though, I have noticed with the running, although I didn't notice it today, but Monday and Tuesday I did notice like just a twinge of nausea. Lasted less than a minute, but it was like a don't feel good, and then I was fine. So, so there you go. Now, previously, like when I was back in 2015, I was going to the gym and I was doing powerlifting and At that point, I was doing intermittent fasting, but I kept quitting. Kept quitting intermittent fasting. So sometimes I would do it, sometimes I wouldn't. And so I had a lot of like mindset issues back then, just in general. And I was always like in a hurry, and I wanted to lift faster. When like as far as I went to increase the weight that I was lifting faster. And sometimes I kind of thought, oh, if I wasn't fasting, I could lift more. So then I'd quit intermittent fasting, and then I wouldn't be able to lift more. Eventually, I hurt myself doing a deadlift, and so that put an end to that. But uh, I would say, just experiment with it for yourself. See how you feel when you're actually exercising, and maybe try to put your meal so that it works well for like however you're doing your exercising. You may find that it works better to eat before you exercise or after. Okay, Jade Catherine asked, uh, doing a 16-8 now, finding it's keeping my weight steady. I would like to go to Omad at some stage. Is it better to gradually progress to Omad? I think yes. Um, and here's why. Mainly because Omad is just different. The idea of you only eat once, you just have the one meal, it's just different. Like I feel like eating, twice a day, that's not so weird, right? It's like, oh yeah, that's easy. Like most of us a lot of times would have skipped breakfast anyway if we hadn't heard constantly like you must eat breakfast. So I like to always go gradual with things and like get it just ingrained into your life. Like this is my new normal. Like okay, I do a 18-6 now, and then I do a 24. You're still eating twice, and then eventually you get down to that one meal. I think that's the easier way and the more sustainable way, because then it doesn't feel so weird if you go really gradually to it. And plus, also getting yourself to be able to eat the right amount of food. If you try to just jump straight to OMAD, that can be quite a transition. So hopefully that helps you. James Westbury asked, I am stuck at the same weight with fasting and walking. Should I just eat less to lose more weight? Well, generally that is, the way it works is, if you're at a place where you're just kind of leveled out for a while. Now, I would say when you say stuck, you didn't say how long. I would give it 12 weeks or so. Sorry, there's a huge bug on the window. It's flapping its wings. I would say uh, 12 weeks of consistency. If you're still stuck at that weight, then it may truly be that like you have just gotten to the point you cannot lose anymore. But you may find that your weight does eventually just start moving without having to change your eating and without having to change your movement. My weight got stuck several times, especially when I got down towards the normal BMI. When I was even like at, I can't remember the exact weights now. I want to say it was 186 and then again at 168. So still overweight at that point. Um, I got stuck for like 6 weeks at a time. Now, when I got down towards normal BMI, my weight loss started being like a third of a pound a week. So that was really, really slow. It would have felt like a plateau had I not been tracking my 7-day average over a long period of time. Okay, Robin Exley Williams said, how do you suggest breaking a sugar carb food addiction? Okay, so I don't, I'm not a therapist and I'm not a doctor, okay, but I can tell you just my own observations. Um, I used to have no stopping power, especially when it came to things like cookies, donuts, just any like sweet thing, because it felt forbidden. It felt like, ooh, you really shouldn't have that. And it had all this emotion tied to it. And when I just told myself, you can have it, it's not off limits. You can have however much you want. Um, the weird thing that happened was I got stopping power, and I don't crave it like I used to. Like I can walk through Walmart now, or getting groceries, and it used to be like everything looked so good, all the things that were forbidden used to look so delicious. And now like I'll be walking around trying to find some sort of dessert, something sweet to have on our date night, and it's just like, like it's actually difficult sometimes for me to find things. Not all the time. Sometimes I have a craving for something, but it's just different. It changed. And I think also intermittent fasting in general does this too, because it like trains you to have rules around your food, your eating in some way. It gives you self-discipline. But, you know, ultimately, I think it's the whole like nothing's forbidden. So when nothing's like off limits, it just doesn't have that same draw, in my opinion. Now I love carbs, and I don't limit them. I don't try to say, ooh, I don't need to eat many carbs, or I don't need to eat much sugar. I don't eat sugar in my coffee anymore. I don't drink my sugar, generally speaking. Like I don't really drink sweetened drinks. Um, I mainly did that not because I didn't want to like drink my sugar. Like I just wanted to be able to have a variety of drinks in my fasting window because I wanted to feel easy. So I thought if I could train myself to like unsweetened drinks, that would be helpful and make things easier. So, um, so that's what helped me. Now I don't know where do you draw that line and say you're a food addict if what like I feel like I didn't have good control with food as far as like I would eat until I was absolutely miserable and felt really bad about myself. Uh, but I know that there's all varying degrees of that. So, uh, but now I can stop and I do stop. But it took time and it took a lot of like, I would say self compassion, learning how to forgive myself, learning how to talk to myself in a nice way, not being mean to myself in my head. There's a lot that goes with that. So hopefully that helps you, Robin. Um, Mauricio Roberto says, "Hey Kayla, oh awesome, you're from Brazil. I'm very anxious and I eat a lot of junk food. Have you ever dealt with that? Any tips? Thank you. You're great. Well, thanks. Okay. Yes, I was a worrier, and I mean, I still have that tendency, but I'm getting so much better. And there's been a lot of stuff that has helped me. The number one book that I would recommend if you're an anxious kind of person is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. It's by Dale Carnegie. The tips in that book, if you'll do them, like if you'll actually just do them, um, I find that it has been really helpful. And it's funny because after I read that book, then I started just kind of noticing that these same themes pop up um, about anxiety and worry and stuff like that. The thing that really helps me, and it sounds so counterintuitive, but is to actually ask myself, what is the worst thing that could happen? Like, so if there's a situation, I try to imagine the worst thing, the worst case scenario. Okay. And here's the key: you have to accept it. You have to say, okay, that might happen. Like, you have to say, it may happen. And because I think this is what would happen to me in the past. Like, I would try to say, well, that won't happen. That won't happen. But deep down, I knew it could happen. And it was like, if I never acknowledged it, then I worried more and more and more about it. So, what helped me was to say, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Okay. And if that happened, I'm going to have to accept that because it is a possibility. Then how could I improve upon that? Like, what's something I can do to make that situation a little bit better? If that did happen, kind of like, what is a thing that I could do? Um, just learning how to deal with the worry as opposed to just eat. Now, the good thing about intermittent fasting is if you just make that rule and you're just really stubborn with yourself and you say, I am not going to eat right now, and then you have to sit there and you have to deal with the anxiety. That's the thing about food; it can calm you down, and I think that is one reason why it's really easy to just start to be an emotional eater, because it's like that food does make you feel good, at least temporarily. Um, so yeah, so living, and also, so another thing from the book is to live in day type compartments. So that means like focus on today, and that's it. Like, what can you do today? And don't think about tomorrow. I mean, you can make plans and stuff like that, obviously, but just focus on today. What can you do today? What can you take action on today? But yeah, that book, I'm telling you, it's a really good book. It's old, but oh man, really, really helpful for me. Changed my life. Um, let's see. Ellie Altman asked, what are you planning for your next online course? I actually think my next online course might be something about uh, conquering fear and anxiety when it comes to weight loss. When it comes to weight loss, especially, but just anxiety and worry in general, conquering fear, because a lot of times there's all these fears that kind of hold us back from really being consistent with our efforts in trying to lose weight. Because sometimes, or at least this was the case for me, I was even afraid, like, what if I'm successful at it? Then, how might I change? How might my personality change? That kind of thing. So, but that's what I'm planning, Ellie. Thanks for asking. Sarah C said, I just can't seem to get started on my exercise goal. I was going to do this 10-minute per day program to start. And the night before, I was up all night with a sick child, so I didn't get up early. Okay, so first of all, when you've got a sick child, give yourself a lot of slack. I do. I mean, like, I do. We recently went through the stomach bug thing. It was like last month sometime. I got zero sleep one night, and I didn't do any of my steps. I sat on the couch the whole rest of the day. I wasn't sick, but that whole day, I just sat on the couch, tried my best to get caught up on my sleep, and I just was really gentle with myself. Um, uh, and that that's life. It just happens. The main thing is just say, okay, so it didn't happen that day. So can you do it? Say tomorrow. Uh, let's see. I don't know if your kid's better, then, and if you've gotten, like, you've bounced back from it, then try again. And if you find you're still resistant to it, like you just can't get the motivation to do it, bribe yourself. You got to figure out how to bribe yourself to do the things. That's the case. I still bribe myself with anything that I'm trying to get myself to do. Never be above a bribe when it comes to yourself, obviously. But it is that is the key is figuring out how to motivate yourself. But just think of something that you would really think of as like a treat or a really good reward, like how much free time could you give yourself, or how much time spent reading a book, or just surfing social media, or doing a hobby that you like to do, or what is the thing. Come up with a really good reward for doing the thing, and then see how it goes. Eventually exercise becomes its own reward, if you find the thing you like. I would say keep searching until you find the thing that you do like. But it's just you just got to figure out what will get you to do it. Shirley Ford, I am 68 years old. Does age contribute to the difficulty of weight loss with fasting? Okay, so uh, as we age, it does get more difficult to lose weight, but not impossible. It's never impossible to lose weight. The thing is, in my understanding, a couple of different things start happening that do kind of mess with your weight, your metabolism. You have less muscle, which makes it so that you're not burning as many calories, and you may just not be moving around as much. So I would say uh, just be really patient. You can do this, and just expect it to take a lot longer than everybody else's results. Like, I would say just figure out a plan for yourself. Like, write something down that you think, okay, I could do this, and then write down what your goals are, and then start to track and look at how your weight is moving over, say, 12 weeks of time, and just see if it's inching down. And that's what I would say to do. Just don't be in a hurry. Paula Jones asked, I feel like I'm just maintaining my weights and not losing any more weight. Do you have any suggestions for me to start losing again? Well, first of all, are you at a good weight? Or do you still have weight to lose? Like, can happen sometimes is people will get down to a perfectly healthy weight. And that's where they, like, as far as like the way they like to eat, that'll maintain them right there. But they've like got this lower number in mind. So take a moment and kind of assess where you're at. If you don't really know what is a good weight for you, I like the BMI calculator just to kind of give you a rough range. I like having a nice range, like, and it's a nice big range too of like a normal weight for you. And I mean, not to say that you have to be in the normal weight. You may find that you uh, don't mind being in the overweight range or something like that. But the weight does start to get, the weight loss starts to get slower when you approach a normal BMI. Like I said, mine was a third of a pound a week. that was being really consistent with my plan, walking 6 miles a day, eating once a day, cheat day on Sunday. And that's been the experience I've seen with people not even doing that kind of plan, just in general. Like, maybe they're like a calorie counter type person and it's, like a fraction of a pound a week. So, but like I would say, just keep going with your plan. And, ultimately, if your current plan stops working, I would say after 12 weeks of being really consistent, if you're just like, I've got to get lower, you will have to make a tweak to either, like how much you're eating or maybe your eating window. Uh, there's a lot of different ways you could tweak it, but I would make a small change if you do need to make a change. None. What do you drink besides coffee during your fasting hours? Do you take any vitamins? I don't take any vitamins, but what do I drink? So unsweetened iced tea, water, LaCroix, bubbly, any of the unsweetened, flavored sparkling water. So those don't have any artificial sweeteners either. No stevia, nothing like that. Let's see, what else? I think that's all. Can't think of anything else I drink during the fasting window. I think I covered that. US Girl 21 said, I started intermittent fasting on March 2nd. I'm doing an 18-6. Cheat day is Saturday. I've been within the same 3 pounds these last 2 months, between 166 and 169. My goal is 145. I'm sticking with it. I feel good, but any tips? Okay, so I don't know what your height is. I don't know if you're if you're at a normal BMI or not. It really depends on your height. Let's see. So you've been intermittent fasting for how long? That's about 2 months. Okay. And so in 18-6, you've been within the same 3 pounds. Goal is 145. If you're being really consistent with the 18-6, maybe pushing it out a little bit more might help. Let's see, 3 pounds. I mean, it really depends on your height because you're getting down. Like I'm 5'6", so that way, let's see, I got down to 157. I lost a rate of about a pound a week down to about 157, and then I decided to stop and maintain. But once I started to lose weight again, it was a third of a pound a week. So I'm saying you might be getting closer to that like time where there's a general slowdown anyway. But 3 pounds over 2 months, that's like a half a pound, a little less than a half a pound a week. So it's still downward progress. I would say if you're not currently weighing and like keeping track of your average, do that. You may see that there's more of a trend that's clearer as opposed to just it's like within 3 pounds. And then see how that's going. But yeah, you're feeling good, you're sticking with it. I would say, I like to just try to stay with the plan that you really feel good with, even if it takes longer. Just don't be in a rush. Let's see, because your goal's not that far away either. So it might be that you're just, you're getting near a healthy weight. So just be patient with it. And like I said, if you want to push it out to like a 20-hour fast and just see if that kind of gets the needle moving, try that. But just mainly keep going and don't quit. Mackie's son said, when did you start seeing results? When I got consistent, basically. That was really when I started seeing consistent results, is when I got consistent with my plan. When I started like just saying, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm committed to it. I'm going to keep doing this plan until I get to my goal. And that's what I did. So, and really so in 2015, I really was having very sporadic results, inconsistency, because I kept quitting because I was in a really big hurry. I wanted to lose 5 pounds a week and be done with it. But when I finally said, okay, I've got to lengthen out my timeline, it'll probably take a year or more to lose the weight, maybe 2 years or 3 years, depending on how long it takes. And then I got really consistent in January 2016. I started seeing results like that week. It was just a consistent. Now I did hit plateaus, like I mentioned before, but it did. As soon as I got consistent, I started seeing consistent results. Joy Harrington said, how long do you take to eat Omad? I don't really time my meals, like sit down with the kids and then hit a stopwatch or anything. I think it's probably about 30 minutes. maybe 45 if we're feeling really chatty. We don't watch TV. We don't have devices. So it is solely we sit down to the table as a family and enjoy the meal. So that's how long it takes, however long it takes me to just sit there and eat. Catherine uh, Hoang said, when should you expect results? Can you start out by eating whatever you want? Yes, you can start out that way and you can keep going that way in my experience. I would say if you're just starting out with intermittent fasting, start out with the shortest window that you feel comfortable with, or the longest fasting window that you feel comfortable with, which for most people is just like maybe pushing out breakfast a little bit later. I started out with like 8 hour fast. I said, okay, I know I'm going to sleep through it, but just having that rule of like, I'm not going to eat past 10 and I'm not going to eat before 6, you know? And it was just like this first little rule. And then I pushed out breakfast later and later and later. And eventually I got to the point where lunch was my first meal. Most people, from my observation, seem to have consistent results once they get to a 16/8. I found even before that I was seeing results about a pound a week, but I was also doing, other exercises and stuff too. So that might have played a factor. I was doing things like CrossFit and powerlifting and all sorts of things. Um, but yes, I started out eating whatever I wanted and I continued that because to me, that's what's sustainable for me. Priya B says, hi, I've been eating only 2 meals a day since January. I've lost very little. I'm 5'6" in height and 146 pounds. It's not going down further. Please help. Well, you know, I am 5'6" also, and that's about where I'm at right now with my weight too. And so I'm happy here. Maybe you're not though, but I love where I'm at. To me, the more important thing is not the number on the scale. The more important thing is what was your weight keeping you from doing before, and and then like if it's not preventing you from living your life, then I really like I feel great. I can move. I can lay on my. I was laying flat on my back last night, and I was just enjoying it because I really had started to remember how bad I felt about myself when I was laying on my back when I was obese, and I couldn't breathe well. Like you could just feel the pressure on the organs and stuff, and now I can just lay there and breathe easier, and it's just great. And so I'm really thankful for where I'm at. I feel really good about my body. That was a whole process of learning. My body is never going to be perfect, ever. It's going to have stretch marks. It's going to have some loose skin. It's going to have some fat. Um, and I've really tried to focus on the things I like about it. What do I like about my body? And trying not to pick my body apart, like, and be as positive as I can be. Change the things that I feel like I can change and I am willing to change. But so hopefully that helps you. But uh, it will probably be, just in my experience here, it is probably going to be really, really slow. Like if you are losing on 2 meals a day, it'll probably be pretty slow because you are at a healthy weight at this point. There is a good range. I think the lowest, according to BMI, that you should get down to is I want to say like 118. I can't remember, but regardless, it is about where you feel comfortable. Why would a lower number help you feel comfortable? What is the thing? And kind of dive into that with yourself. Like, why is it that lower number needs to happen? And you might find if you're really set on that lower number, it may be that you have to eat less at those 2 meals, or you have to increase your activity level. But if you increase your activity level, you may find that you're eating more. So it's a tricky thing, but hopefully that helps you, Priya. Moon Chevra said, is it crucial to cut sugar during your eating window? I don't see result after 3 weeks until I cut on sweet drinks. Lots of love from Singapore. Well, awesome, from Singapore. Man, we just have such a diverse crowd, and I love it. Okay, So, like I said, I cut out sugary drinks. I know people who do allow sugary drinks in their eating window, and they've lost weight. 3 weeks isn't very much time to notice results, though. I'm not sure if you're a man or a woman, uh, but uh, weight fluctuates, especially for women, especially with our cycle and everything. So I would give it like 6 weeks before you kind of make a final judgment. Um, you may find if it might be necessary. I don't know. Like you'll have to just see, but maybe do like I think Joe Holman, Omad Revolution guy. I think he his own rule was like one sugary drink at the meal. Um, so maybe you could try that. Maybe if you can experiment. If you find after 6 weeks is really just not moving, you're not having the results you want, then maybe like say, okay, there's a certain number of sugary drinks I will allow myself during the window, and past that, I won't have more than that. Maybe that would help you. Happy Jack said, loose skin is freaking me out. Is there anything I can do to minimize it? Okay, well, I guess everybody's different on this topic as far as like they freak out. Like in other words, what I mean, some people might look at your body and say, "Wow, it looks fantastic," but maybe you're looking at it as like you can see every little flaw and imperfection, and we notice our own flaws a lot more than we notice other people's. Um, I haven't noticed a lot of loose skin, like just in general. I thought I was going to have a lot, like a lot, because I thought 80 pounds. I mean, I thought if I lose 80 pounds, I'm going to have a lot of loose skin. I lost it really slowly, though. I think that helped because it was like as I was just losing slowly, my skin was kind of snapping back. Um, but I know that with more rapid weight loss, there can be more loose skin. I would say just give it time. Like, just be patient with it. I mean, if it's super, if it's like a really big issue for you, as far as like maybe it's even like medical, because sometimes there are like some medical issues that can happen if the folds of skin are really severe. Um, but uh, just give it time, and you could talk to a doctor about it. Like if you're really really bothered by it and you really want to do something about it, and if you have the funds to do so, there are surgeries and things like that that are possible. But just staying with your fasting and staying at your weight that you want to maintain at can help too, because your skin does kind of over time snaps back. And with fasting there's autophagy. You're basically like eating your own body. So, which sounds gross, but Shubha Rao says, "Hey Kayla, I started intermittent fasting about 2 months ago. Started OMAD 4 day. So for 4 days, I lost 3 pounds with OMAD. Is it okay? I think that's great. Um, Again, weight kind of sometimes it will like you'll have a whoosh, like you'll kind of be going along. It's like not really doing anything, and then just you drop, and then you'll go along for a little while, and nothing will really happen, and then another drop. It's really individual. Um, from my understanding, if you are, let's say, 300 plus pounds, 2 to 3 pounds a week is fine. Uh, 1 to 2 pounds a week, if you're in the 200s, is probably a good thing to look for. I found a pound a week was reasonable, and then down in the 100s, a pound to maybe just a half pound, or maybe even less, depending on how close you get to the BMI. That's in the normal zone for you. Let's see. Farrah's on. Hey, Farrah. Glad to see you in here. I'm losing my hair. Is that a side effect? Okay. Now, I've not had hair loss. Some people have, though. And first of all, I would say talk to your doctor, first of all, if you're worried. Um, go with your instinct. But I did read an article about how, dieting in general, just losing weight because you're in a calorie deficit over time, it can cause your hair for you to lose some of your hair, not all of it, obviously, but the good news is it does come back once you start eating, uh, you know, maintenance kind of calories. You're not in a deficit anymore. Again, I haven't had that happen, or at least I I don't think I have had it happen. I know my hair got thinner after I had kids. I definitely noticed that for sure. But I haven't noticed it with intermittent fasting over a very prolonged period of time. But yeah, I would say maybe that might be. I mean, you could also look and see if that's a sign of any nutrient deficiencies. But also, just it might be that you need to eat a bit more. So, okay, well, it is time to end this broadcast. I appreciate all of you for joining me here, and I really appreciate you all. And hopefully, it was helpful for you. And I will see you guys again next week, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.